Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today together we're going to paint this gorgeous village scene of a blue door and potted plants with vines cascading down. This is part of a 31-day awesome art challenge called Acrylic August. To help me bring this fabulous challenge to you is my husband John.
Hello.
You will hear his voice through the video. He helps turn all the equipment on, make sure that the cameras are pointing at what I'm talking about, because I'm going to break down every part of this class for you. I don't fast forward through it. We're not going to speed through it. This is a step-by-step, real-time lesson where everything is really explained to you, tools, all of it. It's also part of the 31-day painting challenge, Acrylic August. More information about that. But that's where from August 1st to August 31st, we meet every day and do a new painting every day, because nothing makes you a better painter than painting often. So if you're here for the challenge, I want to welcome you and say thank you for making it this far. It's a huge deal. Today's a slightly bigger day than we have done previously in the challenge, but I think you guys are ready for it. And remember, it's all about just learning the techniques and the journey. So there's nothing for you to do but get your paint, get your brushes, check that description to know what those are and where the traceable is if you don't want to draw, though I am going to show you how to draw the door. So you can check for that information down below, and let's start painting. So the materials for today's project are an 8x8 canvas. I have the colors on my palette of yellow ochre, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, phthalo green, burnt sienna, Mars black, and titanium white. Now we're using to paint, there's really nothing to do but for us to jump on in and get to step one, which is going to be fun, John.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. Well, it's going to be easy.
Yeah, well, that's good. It should be fun and easy.
We're going to grab our 3/4 inch angle brush. I'm going to get a little bit wet, and then I'm going to mix up some brown and Mars black together, making kind of a darker chocolate brown. And then I'm going to paint the whole canvas that color. Doesn't have to be neat or tidy. We're just getting a layer of color on here. So I was liking grounds in early.
Grounds?
Get those grounds on the canvas.
Is that like the ground you stand on?
It is the ground we stand on artistically.
Artistically?
Yeah, artistically, it is the ground we stand on. It just gives us a nice finished look when we're painting.
Oh, that's good.
We might have mentioned it once or twice before.
Makes your painting feel grounded.
Makes your painting feel grounded. It does. That's not why they call it a ground, but I love that.
It's not like sending your painting. You're grounded. I'm sending you to your painting corner. I'm going to paint you into a corner now.
I felt that way sometimes and have wanted to say that to my canvases. You go to the corner and think about what you've done.
You've painted me into a corner.
Arrgh. So now that we've painted this whole background brown.
Had an imaginary conversation with our canvas.
An imaginary conversation with our canvases. So we're definitely, being serious. Rinse out my brush thoroughly. Now, to do the next step, I really have to have this be completely dry. So let's dry it and come back, and I'll show you what you're going to do next. So now what we're going to want to do is either use the traceable and transfer the image on at this step, or you can follow along with me and I'll explain how to draw it in freehand. So the first thing that I want you to do is to take a T-square ruler and measure about, like right around 1 inch from the top of the canvas, and then another almost ½ inch down. And then I'm going to come in from the side at just almost 2.5, a little bit short of 2.5. And I'll come in over here from the 8 to the 6 to about between 5.5 and 6, which is like 5 3/4. I'm just trying to create a little square that I can confine in a box. I'm going to, using my T-square ruler, draw 2 parallel lines. Oh, goodness, I'll have to resharpen that. There, you heard it. Yeah, I got that sharpener. All right, so now we've got that. Then I'm going to make 2 verticals. And again, if this is frustrating, the traceable is there, and it's okay to use the traceable if that is where you're at. Now, from the bottom, I want just a little bit past a ruler's length. So I'm going to come up just a little bit from the rolled edge, and I'm going to make a hard line across. Then I'm going to make a little short vertical line under the base of the door, and then horizontal lines to join those. Then about the same width that I have here, I'm going to bring two little lines in, kind of in perspective, kind of joining here. If this were way back here was the vanishing point. I'm going to make another little step up, line across, and then another line here at the top. Kind of like clean up and erase a little bit. So that is how I kind of lay in the opening to my door there in a couple of steps. I won't put the pots in quite yet because they're not really big objects, and I'll want to paint in the stairs and everything really well before I put them in. So I'm going to keep those to the side. All right. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I want to kind of do the background wall. I'm going to start painting in this old patinaed wall. And I'm going to begin with lots of little neutral colors. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and a little bit of my ultramarine blue together. And they will make a dark brown through a blue-gray. And I really like these for the wall. This is good colors for the wall. Yes, it's very good. I'm also going to want to have some yellow ochre and a smidge of Mars Black. And I'm going to start with the yellow ochre and smidge of Mars Black, and I'm going to begin to just loosely paint in rough brush strokes using a 1/2-inch angle brush. Kind of multi-directional brush strokes all around my wall. I'm letting some of the brown show through. And I'm just starting that first layer. What I love about this is there'll be many, many layers. Mm-hmm. This wall will build up in layers. And we're going to use a nice combination of rough brush techniques and dry brushing to create the patina of the wall, even without an artist knife. A lot of times we do this with an artist knife to get that rough wall effect, but this time we're going to do it with just brushes.
It's looking pretty good there. A faux wall.
A faux wall. Paint kind of tidily along the opening of the door. Oops, did not mean to come in on that one. Looking pretty good. Now I want to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and ultramarine blue coming down here. Making a much darker shaded area towards these outer sides. And then I'm going to grab a little yellow ochre and kind of in the middle here blend in a little yellow ochre. Notice that I'm working the brush into the wet sides of paint, and that's blending wet into wet. Oh. I'm going to come along this edge. Go to there. You're about to ask a question?
No, I'm noticing.
You're noticing the wet into wet?
I'm noticing you're doing it.
We're doing some wet into wet. So we should have some darker values here and slightly lighter values there. And to do the next layer, well, we've really got to dry this again. So once we dry this and we come back, I'll show you what you do next. Now I want to kind of make some adjustments to the steps here. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna over to my burnt Mars Black, and I'm going to make a dark brown color again. And I'm going to come into the forward step and paint down just a little bit past my horizontal line here, this front step, just a little bit past it. I'm using my 1/2 inch angle brush, and I'm dragging the brush short bristles first, long bristles last, creating a nice crisp edge along this step. And then using the sharp end of the brush, do that at that far edge, using the corner there to create a corner. Anytime you mess up, that's okay. You can come back. Let's bring this down here just a little bit past the wall. Take that same color and come here and shade the front of this step. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my white into my yellow ochre mix. I'm going to grab some of my brown here. I'm just making a kind of grayed out tone. So you into my yellow ochre where my Mars black was,
yeah,
into my brown where my Mars black was. So I've got those two like mixes, and then I'm going to paint the top of the step just a slightly lighter value. Now our steps are sort of hidden by the pots, so that's why I'm not that concerned with them.
they're just a transition space between here and there.
They're just a transition space between here and there. Just a framing. They invite us into the space. While I'm at it, I'm going to take a little bit of my white again, and I'm going to mix it into my Mars black, burnt sienna, and a little yellow ochre. Like to make it a little more gray than that. It's interesting finding the colors. Bring some white into it because I want it to be light enough to look like a edge barrier.
I like that you kind of look for them.
Look for the colors, search for it?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it comes to you right away, and sometimes it takes a second to come in. I'm going to paint the jamb around the door. Turned too soon. Don't turn to the right too soon. You don't want to take that wrong turn at Albuquerque. We're just painting the nice sort of frame around the door. And again, we don't have to be too careful about right here, because right there is going to be these two like beautiful pots. And they're going to really snug in here, and there's going to be lots of plants and everything. So really, you're just creating zones. Then I'm going to rinse out. It's doing pretty good. So this is what you might call an underpainting, where you start a painting and you are just working out the colors and values of everything underneath.
Blocking it all in.
Blocking it all in. I'm going to grab a little bit of my burnt sienna, and I've mixed my ultramarine blue and my phthalo blue together, and I'm adding a little burnt sienna into it. I'm going to make a very dark blue color. Paint the inside of the door, the blue door. So on something like this, you could do a red door or blue door. I like the blue door because in color psychology, blue is a color that you associate with trust and safety and home.
But you could do like any kind of door.
Mm-hmm. Red is exciting.
The Puce door.
Red is urgent and exciting.
The Chartreuse door.
Right. You could do bright green if you felt like it.
Vermilion.
That's not going to age well, but you could.
You know, you're depending on what neighborhood you're in, they're going to be like, I don't know, is this a YouTuber with a door trick thing? You know, they're green screening their front door.
So I find it's easier to like make something bigger slowly, incrementally. So you see that I'm just kind of increasing the edges here a little bit. Nice big steps. All right, let's call that a step, and we don't have to dry anything. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I have a number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan brush. This is a hog bristle brush, so it's going to be very, very scratchy. It's got a filbert side and a blending side. You don't have to have this brush. You could just do a hog bristle filbert or bright. You just want a brush that's going to give you very, very scratchy, scratchy, scratchy. Now, I like this one the best for this, but it's going to give you scratchy, scratchy results. You got to love the scratchy, scratchy results.
Scratchy, scratchy.
Scratchy, scratchy results. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red together and kind of pull some yellow ochre into it. A little more red. And I'm going to scratchy scratch. See, I'm scumbling around. Scumbly, scumbly. Scumbly, scumbly. And I will just bring a little bit of my, interestingly enough, the red and black together. Makes a very good shadow, and you can really warm it up. It'll look very brown on your canvas, even if it does not seem so on your palette. Blending up into here, kind of blending those colors into each other. Get a little bit of white over into my mix. I haven't even rinsed my brush.
You just carry those colors along wherever you go, huh?
I'm just carrying those colors along wherever I go. Let's be very rough with what we're doing. Maybe get a little bit of my black and brown together. I haven't rinsed out yet. Take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and my brown. Maybe a smidge of white. And I'm just really trying to layer up lots and lots of colors into the wall while also starting to talk a little bit about what's happening with, light. I'm going to add a little white to the red-black color that I had from earlier. I'll pull it into the orange. Create sort of a lighter neutral value over here. Bring a little more white into my mix over here and even come over on my left-hand side, maybe highlighting that some. I'm making my brush be multi-directional. My brush strokes are going all kinds of different directions, and that's how I'm creating that rough surface for this wall. I might want to grab a little ultramarine blue on my brush, and because everything's on there already, it kind of grays. I'm going to come over on the left-hand side, brushing in some of that blue-gray. It's going to make so pretty on that wall. Taking it down. Bring some over here. I think I want to get some brown and black together. It's really like we're moving. We're cooking with fire over here.
I like how complex the wall is becoming.
Very quickly the wall becomes very engaging and colorful and complex. I'm creating a nice shadow down here. Notice my brush is very colorful. Get a little burnt sienna. Kind of mix that on here. To my black. All right. Now I want to dry everything before I get the next layer going. I know it's a lot of layers.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But I want to dry everything, and I'll show you what we do next. So now I want to take my number 00 Raphael Textura D brush. Really what I'm looking for is a brush that's about 1/4 of an inch wide, and so this is going to let me really work this area. I'm going to mix some more white into the gray from earlier, in kind of a lighter color. And I'm going to very carefully kind of dry brush down this area, this white patina. Now the good news is, guys, is that we've got vines and stuff growing around part of the door. Dry brushing. You can see that like it's leaving lots of scratchy, rough looking patinas underneath. I'm going to go ahead and get it into my blue. Might get into some yellow ochre. Back into my little kind of white and gray over here. And I want to make sure that I've just got a nice edge out this way. If I need to, I can kind of come back and be like, no, 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 no. I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red and my Phthalo Blue and mix them together. It's going to create me an interesting gray. Go more into the red on that gray. And I'm going to add some white to it. More white to it.
More.
That's a fascinating place to get a gray from. Now I'm shadowing this over here on this side because we're going to have plants and things over it. I'm going to grab a little bit of white and get that back onto my brush to grab a lighter value. A lighter color on this side. Now I want to get a little of my phthalo blue and ultramarine blue together. Smidge of burnt sienna. I smidge it with the burnt sienna so it just grays it out a little bit.
That's a technical term, yeah.
Yeah.
Smidge.
Smidge. It's a technical me term anyways. I'm using my number D0 brush here too. And I'm going to very carefully, I don't want that much water in it. You want less water. Less is more because this is going to be a dry brushing moment. That moment when you find that perfect blue-gray. Come over from this side and I'll just very carefully using this brush make a downward stroke. Come over a little bit. Make another downward stroke. A little white on my brush here. And do that completely across the door. painted a few of these like windows and doors and old village scenes. I actually got to travel to Europe with my mother years ago on a painting trip. Several of them, actually. Remember, you came up and visited me in France.
I do remember
We did that. We painted a lot of blue doors when we were there.
There are a couple.
There are a few. Special in these old medieval villages. There you go, creating planks that go across the door.
Planks.
Planks. Maybe bring a little area kind of across here to sort of hide that brushstroke. Get a little more blue on the brush. Come through the bottom. Stroke upwards on the blue. Just kind of bringing in that door. Okay, let's call that a step. And when we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I want to come here on the steps and I want to kind of exaggerate the shadows. I'm going to go back into my Cad Red and my Phthalo Blue. And I'm going to bring another little layer of that right here. Get a little more Phthalo Blue into it. A little bit of that right there. I'm going to kind of come across the step. I'm just adding the shadows. Then I'm going to come in and grab a little bit of my... I think I'm going to rinse out my brush. Take some white back over into my yellow ochre burnt sienna space. Adding a little highlight at the top of the stairs. I'm going to go into my grays again. Get a little more of my light color. And I'm going to just lighten my step gray a little bit. Let's add a little more red into that. Oh, great. Oh, there we go. I'm getting into some colors now. Bring a little bit of that down. Right there in the center. And you can kind of blend these in together. Blending them out across the step. You're doing okay. And then back up here on the forward face this step. Kind of dry brushing back to either side where there's the shadow. And we're just making sure that our little steps have, I don't know, form and shape, right?
They got dimension.
They got dimensionality.
They got to be inviting.
Personality, dimensionality, inviting to the neighbors. Add a little more highlight here. While this is all having a moment, I'm going to let it dry for a second. I'll bring some of this color up here. I like to sometimes bring color around places. And come in with a clean brush and kind of like check those lines. I'm going to grab a little bit of my black and my brown. I'm going to make sure that this space is quite dark actually, because I'm going to be putting the pots in front of it, and I want them to have kind of darkness behind them so that they sort of pop out. I'm scumbling this brush stroke. I'm on the back side of my D brush, and I'm scumbly around. Scumbly, scumbly. See, it's like scratching and scribbling. Same on the other side. Maybe bring some of that shadow up that wall. I'm just scrubbing with the brush.
Give it a good scrub.
Mm-hmm. Bring a like dark line along the side of the door. Just let that have a little bit of a shadow, right? That just helps that frame pop out. Again, we're going to have plants here and everything, so you don't have to be too worried about what's going on here. I'll rinse out my brush. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white, and I'm going to bring it over to my yellow ochre. Make a very light color. And come to the outside edge. Even lighter. I might switch brushes, actually. I'm going to rinse out that D brush, and I'm going to switch.
That's not common for you.
It's not, but the brush isn't giving me the results I want. I'm going to switch to a number 6 sepia round. I just want a sharp edge that I have control over. I'm going to mix in some water and get good flow, and I'm going to come here to the outside of my door. With a downward stroke. And then I will just, see how I'm just sort of tapping the edge of this, blending this line in. Just try brush across here. And come here and add a little bit of highlight to my step. A little bit of highlight over there, kind of pulling that in. Grab a dark color. I just put my brush back in colors I've mixed before.
Yeah, just so you can keep bringing those colors around.
Mm-hmm. Add a little white back in. Bring a little gray to the front. It's still like lighter, but it's dark enough to be like a forward face on a step. And all this is about just making sure that when the pots are in there and everything, it feels like there's a shadow going on.
It's much harder to paint that in later.
Mm-hmm. Much, much. I'm going to grab a little of my black and kind of come in here and sort of exaggerate some of my lines. You don't have to be perfect. I'm just stroking a little bit of darkness along those lines. Vertical strokes, bringing them down. You're
Yep.
doing good.
Looking good. Yep.
They're doing great. So this is like the first more challenging one we've had, where we've like kind of brought it in.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit more on this one.
Yeah, we're doing a little more on this one. We've built up. We've got some stretching we've done in the beginning. Now I'm going to switch back to my little D brush. Switch back to my little D. Bring some white over to my little gray area. Grab some brown if I feel like it's too bright. I want the door to feel like it's painted blue, but also to feel like it's weathered. So I'm going to kind of very lightly bring a highlight across that door. Dry brushing this down, this highlight. Get a little more blue going on there. Kind of come up from the bottom.
That sort of implies a roof somewhere, creating a sort of like line of light there.
Yeah.
No, that's what my imagination said.
Well, we've got a nice column of light sort of coming in from the side.
Yeah, that's my brain was saying that, so I think it's pretty
I'm
cool.
taking my blue and I'm blending the door so that the light isn't like a stripe, but instead sort of a ray that's going through the door. Come here and put in the beginnings of a doorknob. With just black paint and my round brush. Come up on the top of here with sort of like a shadow. And blend that shadow down with my little brush here. It's almost a glaze. little more blue, a little more ultramarine blue, a little more phthalo blue. I'm just really painting the door. The door should feel handmade. Brushing back up. And I think I want to move the light up a little bit. Move the light up. So, because it's coming from here, I think I might want to sort of exaggerate the angle even a little more. Now blend back and forth. Blend your blue back and forth. Blend your blue back and forth. See, so we've got some light coming through here.
That looks cool.
You know. I can take a little bit of my highlight color. I'm going to grab my round brush and my highlight color from the door over here, which was my yellow ochre, and I brought some of my Mars black and burnt sienna over with white. Kind of highlighting the inside of that door there as well. Come out here and maybe scumble or finger rub even a little bit of more highlight here. A little bit of dappled light that comes through, right? And I'll go ahead and clean up that little bit there because I like the shadow coming off the door, like a lot. Let's call this a step and dry everything, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. So I want to sketch in some pots right now. And I'm going to come in front of my step using my Stabilo chalk pencil. You can use chalk that you use on a chalkboard, or you can use the traceable again if you're not feeling confident on your pots. So that's pot 1 and pot 2. We want to make them different sizes. So this pot is going to be significantly bigger. I'm trying to get it at a nice angle. And what you have to do is match your angles on your pots. So whatever angle it's going out this way, you want the angle to match on the other side. You don't have to be perfect, but the degree to which you can get that done will make a very big difference. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and grab my half-inch angle, and I'm going to get my cad red and my cad yellow together and mix in a little burnt umber. And this is where I'm going to get into my terracotta, which you see is very bright against this background. And just paint these pots in at first with just this terracotta color. All right, once we have that in, I'm going to bring a little of my black over to my orange color.
All right.
And I'm going to add a little shadow here to the left-hand side. And come over here. And I'm add a lot of shadow to this pot. This pot is actually in quite a dim area. You see, I'm just kind of blending those over. And I want to come in with a little bit of black. And just make sure that the shading around it is darker than it. See how I'm doing? I'm adding a little bit of black dry brushing.
Oh yeah, a little weathering effect kind of thing.
Little weathering effect to the area, and I'm deepening the shadow that we have going over here. Kind of bringing it around the corner. And it's okay to bring it up the wall some. So that should give us a nice shadowed. Come and do a similar thing on the other side. Just black, dry brushing it in. A little bit of black under the pot. And darken this corner as well. Just making sure my pot has nice lines.
Gotta be crisp.
Yeah, it's got some crisp in it. Some crispity crisp. Take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow. Little burnt sienna. And a little bit of a highlight there. A little bit of a highlight there. Get a little more brown on my brush. I'm going to have a lot of plants over that, so it's actually pretty okay. Making sure the bottom of my pot is round. Sometimes that's a challenge to do, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard to get your pot to do what you want it to do. All right, let's call that a step. We don't need to dry anything, but I'll show you what we do when we come back. So now I'm going to take my number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan round. I'm using another hog bristle brush because it's rough and scratchy. I'm going to get it wet, and then what am I going to always do with my hog bristle brushes? I'm going to take a towel and squeeze all the water out because I don't want extra water on there. I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my burnt sienna over to my phthalo green. Heck, I might even grab a little bit of my cad red. That's how serious it is right now. I'm making a very dark green brown. And I'm going to make little touching marks. They need to go kind of slightly different directions, and these are like the beginnings of leaves that I'm talking about. This is going to come right over the corner here. That's why I was like, you don't have to do the best work of your life on this corner. And we're starting with the darkest leaves, right? We're making a very, very dark kind of shape. It's coming through and kind of flowing this way. Bring some leaves back so that they look like they, are coming from beyond the canvas. Beyond the pale, beyond the canvas, beyond. I'm going to grab a little bit of green and come sort of low here. I might grab another little bit of cad red over my green. Little leaves. I'm just touching little leaves down the pot. Kind of let the leaves fall and flow down. Now I'm going to come here and grab a little bit of my cad yellow. And add just a smidge of light. To some of these. Taking my cad yellow over to that mix from earlier. There's cad red in it. And it takes it into a green gold space. Just tapping light on this side. On that side. Tap your light in. Get a darker green going, maybe a little more green on there. Here we get playful. Just building up leaves. I'm building up the leaves because that's what's going to make my potted plants and my flowers that are vines that are crawling down more believable.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm going to make this like kind of an overflowing pot. Grab a little bit of my yellow and make quite a light yellow-green. Kind of rolling the brush so I can load it on the toe. Little touches. Little touches of light. Rinse out. The greenery, like everything else, is going to be more colorful than you expect. Just overall, generally more colorful than you expect.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm going to take a little bit of white over to my green colors from over here. Making little marks of light that could come in here. Isn't our greenery colorful? Come over to my blue, my phthalo blue. Adding some of that to the vines going down. I'm going to rinse out thoroughly. Thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly. And I'm going to start adding some flowers. So let's actually break the flowers up into a whole other step.
All right, so give you a new step right here?
New step right here.
All right, here we go.
There we go. I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red, and it has a little bit of my ultramarine blue in it, which is darkening it, if you can see. More ultramarine blue as we come further back into the shadows. More Cad Red as we go forward. Little tiny touches are super desirable. Just a little bit with the ultramarine blue in it. A little bit of blue and Cad Red. A little bit of ultramarine blue and Cad Red. Rinse out. Dry my brush off with a towel. I'm going to go ahead and get a little more Cad Red into that mix. It won't be totally pure Cad Red, but it will be much more vibrant than what I've been putting down. Just bringing little touches of it up over the balcony. A little darker. All right. Rinse, 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 rinse.
What should you do?
Rinse, rinse, rinse.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Yellow over to my Cad Red and make a nice orange. Fun to tap the flowers in. Little marks, little touches. So, just building up the flowers. These big, beautiful planted urns. So a little bit of cad yellow over to my cad red. You're going to find that that illuminates.
It does illuminate.
It's just a little door in a village. That's all that's going on. Little door, little village. Rinsing out thoroughly. And now I do want to get a little of my yellow. It's okay if it has a little of the red in it, but I'm getting into my yellow. I just do delicate touches where I want the flowers to be up.
Yeah, delicate. I see it.
Kiss the canvas. Little yellow flowers just pop in there. Don't they just pop?
They really do. They just kind of come into the scene.
And rinse out. And I'm going to grab a little bit of my ultramarine blue, just a smidge on my brush. I might even wipe it down with a towel just so it's barely, barely there. And I'm going to mix a white that's slightly off-white. It's white, but it's not pure white. Because that would be too much.
Too much.
Add some little white flowers to the mix. Touch little touches. Little touches.
It's really amazing.
All right, let's dry everything and then I'll show you what we're going to do when we come back. Okay, we want to continue to work out our highlights and our lowlights and a lot of this sort of personality that we've got going around. I'm going to put out some satin glazing liquid, or you could use just water here. Here's the product, Satin Glazing Liquid by Golden Artist Colors. It slows down the drying time of paint and allows you to glaze colors. And I have allowed it to plug up. Take care of your stuff. All right, there it is. More than I needed, but it'll work. So this is going to allow me to glaze here. You can also just do thinner coats with water and then allow the painting to cure for a longer amount of time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of my black and my glazing liquid. And come along this little step. Kind of come down under the little pots here. And I may even glaze up the side. See how I'm doing? And it's darkening some of what I've got. I'm going to wipe my brush off and blend this out. Blend it out. You're okay. You're totally all right. Get a little more. Kind of hit the step. A little bit down the stair. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Just blend it. Let it just be not so bright. Not so bright. Same thing kind of over here. Go come under the pot. I'll definitely do some shading over here. But this is more in shadow. And take a little bit of my black over here with my glazing liquid. Come down with this and kind of create a little line there. I'll grab some glazing liquid and sort of blend that in. Lots of glazing liquid because I don't want it to be black. I'm just using I'm going to come underneath the flowers here and around them a little bit. See, I'm shading under my flowers. I can always come and sort of soften that if I want to. So I'm just blending it and softening it. Because we can always just exaggerate the light.
Right.
We can exaggerate the story. We can exaggerate the light. Now, put on another step, and I'm going to show you guys what we do next. All right, step 12, I'm going to get back into my scratchiest brush, which was my number 8 Artney D brush. And I'm going to get some highlighting colors. I'm going to get into my orange, my yellow ochre, like you do. Little orange and yellow ochre. I'm going to wipe this brush off. And I'm going to mix some titanium white into it to create a highlight. Should be a bright highlight for the piece. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to very carefully brush. A little bit of more light. See how we're kind of finding that ray?
Yeah, I do.
Get a little bit of our different little colors here. Kind of highlighting in here. Now I want to get a little bit of my burnt sienna. And it's okay that we're exaggerating in here a little bit because we can come back with a glaze and knock it back. Knock it back. Just adding some highlights. Some light that's captured on the ground. Just dry brush. Mix up the stroke and just try to keep it really sort of interesting.
I really like how this is just sort of developed here.
It is just developing.
The light's just sort of coming to be in the door. It's awesome.
I'm going to take my 1/2 inch angled brush just real quick and grab my orange. And highlight a little bit on my pot here. Maybe add a little highlight to the front of my pot over here. Dry brushing it in. If it's too much, you can just come back into your brown. And see, muddle it down a little. Just making sure that things have the shape and form that they have. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow ochre and my round brush. This is my number 6 sepia round, and I'm going to come to my door handle. And I'm going to paint that yellow ochre at the top. And then I'm going to grab a little black into that mix. Yellow ochre and black. Make kind of like a dark gray gold. Come underneath. Then I'm going to get a lot of white over to my yellow ochre. And add a little highlight. And get my glazing liquid and a little bit of Mars black paint. Boy, we're cooking with fire today. Mm-hmm. Come underneath my little door knob here. Create a little bit of a shadow. Little bit of shadow. I can wipe my brush off with my towel and then use it very carefully to blend and smear, creating softer transitions. Oh, this is just getting lovely, isn't it? Now, I feel like I want my door to be a little bluer, so let's throw up another step.
All right, we can do that. Another step.
I'm going to take a little of my ultramarine blue, which is already a pretty transparent color. And I'm going to grab some glazing liquid. I'm going to just glaze my door a little bit bluer. See how I'm doing? It's just going a little bit bluer. I still have my light going across the door. It still has a nice patina to it. It just looks like it's been painted a little more in this century. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of that and kind of just glaze there and a couple places here. That blue kind of gives it a little patina. We're learning a lot about patinas, are we not?
I would say so.
And grab a little bit of my blue. Kind of glaze across there. Just showing up that little bit of light across the step, and then I'm going to take a little bit of blue glaze and just carefully come over all of this right here. So this has got a little bit of ultramarine blue into the glaze. So if you're doing that without the glazing liquid, you would just use water to thin it till it was very transparent. And the thing about that is once you've done that, you've really got to let the painting dry for 2 or 3 weeks before you varnish so that the acrylic has a chance to bond. Because when it's done very thin like that, it tends to underbind.
Right.
So you need to use time. You need to apply time to your painting practice. But that does a nice knockback, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
We want things to be bright, but not so bright that they blind us. Making sure everything is dark there. Glazing liquid. Little bit across the bottom.
Wow, that added a lot right there.
Just pulling that all together, right? A little bit right here. Now I'm going to wipe my brush out and kind of soften this little edge by making little circular motions. So I pulled all the paint out and I'm making little circular motions, and that is a nice way of blending. Okay. Look at us. Look what we did today. I'm super proud of us.
Yeah.
All right. There is nothing for me to do here but grab one of my brushes, one of my signature brushes. I'm going to grab the number 0 Raphael Precision. Seems like a good brush as any to sign. And I'm going to come and grab a little bit of my white over to my yellow ochre. Some burnt sienna into it and a little bit of Mars Black. And that's just because I'm trying to get a not too bright color that we can see. Because I don't want the signature to pull everything, all the attention away from this dramatic painting that we just did. There we go, just making that little signature on the painting. Who made it? Putting my mark. My maker's mark. All right. And even that, like, I might, like, when it was dry, I might actually come back and glaze that back too.
Right.
Just because it's so right there. I might even, let me show you what I mean. Let me dry this and I'll show you what I mean.
Okay, we'll be right back for another secret step.
Secret step. It's a secret step. This is kind of not step 14, but it's sort of step 14. I'm going to grab a little bit of black, wipe off my brush, get a lot of glazing liquid, like a lot. Come up from probably right here, brush down, and just see how we just took that down a shade? And it's a little less popping. So that's what I'm always kind of trying to fight against, is the colors like popping. There we go. And now the signature is there, but the signature is also in shadow as the painting is in shadow. I know that's a weird thing to think about, but if you have a strong shadow across the section of your painting where you're signing, if you're signing on your lower right, then you want your signature to not become a distraction to the overall piece,
right?
You know, as you're working. All right. And the other thing I think that we could look at, no, I think we actually got it. I think we've gotten it.
Yeah.
I feel good. I put my signature on it. You put your signature on it. You don't have to put your signature on it, but I put my signature on it. When I get big, I'm going to tell you what we do next. So now that you have completed your daily painting, by the way, congratulations. I have to say to you, and I'm sure John wants to say to you, these daily painting challenges are never easy and they always require so much from us. And, you get into them, with all your goals in mind, but then when you get into the practicality of making them, it can be much harder. And so today was our first sort of we threw a little challenge down today. Right. So hopefully you're feeling it, but not so much that you're not enjoying the program. And remember, some paintings you're going to love, some paintings you're not, and that's completely okay. For the purposes of the daily painting, but I, of course, hope that you love it because I really love teaching this particular lesson. I want to see the versions that you guys create. So share those with me online. There's, of course, the Acrylic April group if you're doing the 31-day challenge. We're really into Acrylic August, but life throws you curveballs.
Yep.
So it's Acrylic August now, but you can share these paintings inside that group. If you do these in a different material or you change them up a little bit, where they wouldn't be an Acrylic April group, you can always share them in the Art Sherpa official group. Because that's what that's there for. Oh, and these are all on Facebook, and I'd love to see it. If you don't like Facebook, I completely understand that. And you can just use the hashtag, the Art Sherpa hashtag, and that will tag me into your artwork and give me a chance to see it. I don't always see it, but it gives me a chance to see it. If you really, really want me to see it, you can write support at theartsherpa.com. And very lastly, there's a group chat over on Patreon that you can get in and share some stuff too. So there's a lot of places for you to share artwork with me. And that's really what I want you to do. The other thing I want you to do is be really forgiving and easy of yourself doing a daily painting challenge. Really understand that you're growing and you're learning and you're evolving, and that is big work, and you're going to be feeling it, each week you're going to be feeling it, but then all of a sudden there's going to be this pressure release, and it's going to be like you're flying downhill on a bicycle. Right now we're doing the uphill climb, but in a minute we're going to be doing the downhill roll, and you're going to love it. I'm very excited for when we get there. It's about the middle of the month. Now, maybe you just saw this door and you just thought, I don't know what she's talking about, 31-day painting challenge, because you just wanted to paint this door, and that is awesome too. I highly recommend you hit the subscribe button because we do free 31-day painting challenges, and that's awesome, and you probably want to take part in those. All right, there's nothing really else to say, but to be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I will see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.